Okay, everyone. Hey, welcome back to Premier Studying and Investing. Today we're going to be looking at Adamis Pharmaceutical, ticker Admp. Chart kind of tells it all. Nice progression until we get to here. If you're a value investor and you're looking for an undervalued company, this is one that just traded for over $1.40. Had maybe a mean of around 80 cents, and now it's trading at 41 cents. A couple things I want to point out. Shares outstanding are about 93 million, so we'll just call it 100 million. We just are going to look at a couple articles. They're going to tell us that they had some authorized shares, and they just issued about 16 million of those. So that's going to bump that up. That's why I say 100 million. Plus, they had to issue another 100 million shares called Tempol. Tempol is something that they're using for dermatitis. It's a skin disease that cancer patients often get as a result of the chemo or the radiation, I'm sorry. And they're also going to be using Tempol for their COVID. So, other things, market cap, very small company. Book value per share, 36 cents, which is pretty interesting. We can buy it for 41 cents. Cash per share, small number of employees. I wish they would get one of these employees to give us an updated corporate presentation. There are some of the things that really rub me wrong about this company. I bought recently as it dropped dramatically, and I'm not sure I'm going to hang in here with it. I might unload those shares, actually. So for most people, I wouldn't actually suggest this company. But there are people who want to know what it's about and what's going on, and maybe this is right up your alley. But for me, I don't think so. Quick ratio, current ratio, not a lot of debt. EPS growth this year was good. I listened to the earnings call. They apparently even do some drugs on the veterinarian side of things. Insider ownership. We're going to see that mostly all their insiders have sold the whole way through this year. So 27 cents up to $1.51 is the range on the year. And obviously, it hasn't been performing great. A lot of those COVID stocks, they kind of went through the moon, or went through the roof, I should say. Not so much on this one. So the last analyst target we have is $1.50, upgraded from a hold to a buy by Maxim Group. I think Maxim Group, though, is involved in some of the... I think I saw their name somewhere on the financing side of things. I'll have to double check that. So this is the 41% drop that we saw on the chart. We'll give you the highlights from the recent news articles. Just want to go down here and look at the insiders. All sales, you can see right here, all sales, all year long. Okay? So this is one of my gripes, is why haven't they put out a corporate presentation since last year? Are they not going to any conferences? Are they not doing any presentations? They have 131 people working for them. They're only going to do this once a year, I guess. I guess they are. So this is their lead product, Zimhi. It's epinephrine. This is what you take if you have a bee sting, severe allergic reactions. I don't really understand, because this isn't at all a new drug. People have been taking epinephrine for forever. So, but okay. Now this was the one that just got shot down by the FDA. Zimhi. It's an injection, and it's the reversal of opioid overdose. And just for a quick opioid crisis statistics, more than 760,000 people have died since 1999 from drug overdose. 2 out of 3 drug overdose deaths in 2018 involved an opioid. So it's a pretty big factor for people dying. Obviously, it's kind of like an American thing. I don't know what the deal is with our culture, why we take so many drugs, non-prescription drugs. I don't know. I just don't know, but we do. Our country, our culture just takes a ton of drugs. I guess we use a lot of other stuff as well, though, natural resources. So maybe that's, I don't know. So like I said, most of this information is outdated, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through it. I just want to show you they have Zemhi, the epinephrine injection for anaphylaxis. This is when your airway basically closes because of a reaction. So like bee stings or whatever. So these are approved. Good. The opioid overdose NDA, but it did not get approved. So that was the big letdown. I just want to show you what they're doing. They have stuff for asthma, COPD, and erectile dysfunction. One of these is definitely for repurposing, because they have a 503. There's also something with this company where they were doing some deal with them, and when they talked about it in the earnings call, there was some still ongoing transition from What was that? Sandoz. Food allergies. You know, my friend said that a lot of people have these peanut allergies because of this drug that accumulates in our bodies that's used on the insecticide side of things. I wish I could tell you what that was. But it is really weird how many people are having food allergies, gluten allergies. I mean, it certainly didn't used to be like that when I was a kid. I mean, maybe you had like one or two people that had lactose intolerances, but addressable market 330 million. And yeah, they definitely got shot down. More than 72,000 drug-related deaths in 2017, with greater than 40% caused by synthetic opioids like fentanyl. So it's unfortunate to see that the opioid crisis is actually growing. So it rose from $44 million to a $330 million market in 5 years. Year-over-year growth of 28%. But they didn't get approved for their drug. They had some problems. They also had a licensing deal, or like they were going to, yes, license this or work with a company in New Zealand and Australia, but it was only contingent upon the approval of the drug. Clear to begin phase 3 trials. Ah, yes. Anyway, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking at the rest of this presentation. It is a bit old. So we looked at that. Now I want to tell you about this. We have August 14th. This company is out of San Diego. It says they announced that their pre-investigational new drug filing with the U.S. FDA has provided details. So the FDA provided detailed comments regarding the protective use of Tempol in randomized placebo-controlled trial. The FDA's response now allows Adamis to proceed to the next step of formally submitting an IND for Tempol, and at the same time begin formal applications for funding to government agencies to support the clinical trial and large-scale manufacturing. In the call, the Q3 earnings call, they said that it was going to cost somewhere around 4 to 12 million in order to run the COVID trials, and so they are hoping to get the government some grants or something to run that, but they haven't started yet. I can tell you that they haven't started yet because if we go over to clinicaltrials.gov, we search Tempol, Tempol, you have it for treatment of radiation-induced toxicity, prostate cancer, hair loss, effects of antioxidants. These are all completed, and this one is recruiting cheese consumption and human microvascular function. So all they've gotten so far on this is into the animal trials. They haven't done anything with the clinical drug trials. So here's Tempol, and one thing I like about it, it's a capsule. As you know, I did that work on remdesivir, on IV-delivered treatments, and I thought that we were going to have a big constraint in the hospital settings. I thought, you just can't basically self-administer an IV, an intravenous drug. You have to go into a setting, a hospital setting, maybe I don't even know if you could do it in like a emergency care, like one of those, quickie kind of hospital things that they have. But it says Adamis has worldwide license to use Tempol for treatment of respiratory diseases, including asthma, respiratory syncytial virus, which we see that a lot, and then the flu and COVID-19. So the good thing about this, if we can pull anything, is that it's an anti-inflammatory, anticoagulant, and antioxidant. So if you've watched other videos or if you've just read some about it, you know that a lot of people are taking like aspirin, anticoagulants, that this is one of the problems. Anti-inflammatory, so you have all the inflammatories that come with the cytokine storm. And also we've looked at like ROS, so reactive oxygen species, and how antioxidants like NAC or butylamine helps to basically like keep the oxygen levels where they need to be. There's a big problem if you have like peroxide or all these just different like molecules shifting around. You can basically like run out of oxygen, and so they want to like stop some of these agents like ROS, and so they do that with antioxidants. Okay, so that's good. It's also been shown to decrease pro-inflammatory cytokines, TNF alpha, IL-1 beta, IL-6, interleukin 6, interleukin 10, NF kappa beta, ICAM1, HIF1A, HIF2A, and others. So these last three I really haven't heard of as we've looked at other companies, but that's okay. Okay, so like I said, they're not even running human trials yet. What's interesting is that Adamis announces license to commercialize Tempol, a novel investigational anti-inflammatory and antioxidant drug for the treatment of respiratory diseases, including COVID. I always hate how they put in these little tricky things like, oh, we're going to talk about, COVID with this drug, and then we're going to throw in the sentence about phase 2 radiation dermatitis clinical study. I just don't like how they do that, just to be honest. Maybe I'm in a bad mood today. What do you guys think? In consideration for Matrix providing the exclusive rights under its patent rights and related know-how relating to Tempol within the licensing fields, Adamis paid Matrix $250,000. Basically, what they were going to have to do, they'll also issue Matrix 1 million shares. Oh, only 1 million shares? Okay. And then what we find out is that under the agreement, if any products are commercialized, net profits will be equally distributed between the parties. And I think it's just two, Matrix and Adamis. So that's interesting. Because I thought it was 100 million shares, but it's just 1 million shares. The reason I thought it was 100 million shares is because they had this meeting. This came out September 3rd. A majority of the outstanding shares of common stock entitled to vote at the meeting, a majority of the outstanding shares of common stock entitled to vote at the meeting approved the proposal to amend the company's restated certificate of incorporation to increase the number of authorized shares of common stock by 100 million shares, and the proposal was approved. The company has filed a certificate of amendment for its restated certificate of incorporation to increase the number of authorized shares from 100 million to 200 million. So actually I thought that they were going to spend the whole 100 million on Matrix, but it's not. They're just doing 1 million shares with Matrix. Now what that means is if we go back and, like I mentioned before, they have 93 now. They issued another 16 million for like R&D and other costs. And then they authorized another 100 million. So that's going to like cut the stock in half just based on the dilution. So what we saw, so this came out September 18th. It says that the company basically announced today the pricing of its previously announced underwritten public offering of, it's like 16 million shares and change of common stock at public offering price of 62 cents per share, resulting in gross proceeds of approximately $10 million before deducting underwriting discounts, commissions, and other estimated offering expenses payable to the company. All shares of common stock to be sold in public offering are to be sold by Adamis. And additionally, there was going to be another 2.5 million shares to cover like any allotments for the company. Raymond James is acting as the sole book running manager for the offering. Maxim Group is acting as lead manager for the offering. Are these the same people? Maxim. See, I told you guys. Can't have the people running the running the shares also put out target prices. There should be like a asterisk against that or something. Now, the other thing that happened, it says basically the company announced that after the close of business, so actually this is November 16th, so it's after the Q3 earnings call, they announced that after the close of business and the U.S. markets on November 13th, it received a complete response letter from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration regarding its new drug application for Zimhi, high-dose injection product for the treatment of opioid overdose. The CRL, this is the complete response letter, stated that the FDA determined it cannot approve the NDA in its present form and provided recommendations needed for resubmission. Now, I just thought this was interesting because if, say, it was worth over $1, because I bought some shares in here at like 87 cents or something, and then it went up over like, I don't know, $1.06 or something, as people were waiting this news. And then I guess it kind of reset, and then obviously dropped very badly when they found out that the IND was, not going to be approved, or NDA, sorry. But the idea is that, people thought it was worth somewhere in this range prior to this bad news. Now, approval, I would say, would only, improve the situation of the company. And so, because you're talking about basically like I don't know, 42% drop, right? You can get it for 41 cents now. I mean, if it trades at 82, I mean, there's your 100% returns. So I just think it's interesting because people obviously thought that it was worth somewhere in that ballpark prior to this hiccup with the NDA. Oh, I took some notes from the Q3 earnings call. It said 2020 phase 1, they hope to do the start of a phase 2/3 trial of Tempol for dermatitis, like we said, that skin disease for people, cancer patients. It says no other drug competes in dermatitis caused by cancer treatments. And I pulled that from their investor report. If you want to stick around, I'll go show you and prove it to you after I go through this list. 2021, they have to do the rework for Zimhi, the emergency opioid treatment. That was obviously in my notes because they were so excited. You know, they really were. When we get to the Q&A, Syngeffi sales have trended upward. Manufacturing was down, but direct sales, unit sales were up. So they said that was kind of composed of those two areas, manufacturing and direct unit sales. So I think they must manufacture it for someone else. Like I said, they have this partnership with this company, this distribution drug company in Australia and New Zealand. There was a question about warp speed initiation of COVID trials. They hope to start by the end of this year. So by the end of 2020, they hope to get going on this phase 1 for Tempol for COVID. So that would be actually pretty great. International demand for Zimhi is unknown, basically. Someone wanted to know, what's the opioid crisis like abroad? How much could we maybe, I mean, these are analysts, right? They have to come up with price targets. They have to come up with recommendations, buy, sell, hold recommendations, whatever, So it is important to know the market size. It says they have not signed contracts as there's like this transition from Sandoz that I was talking about. So there's still some complications going on with that. But basically, people were saying like, "Hey, have you gotten new contracts? How's your sales force done? What's going on? How are those conversations going?" And really, nothing's come of it. So, U.S. World Med is someone they're working with, like a partner, and they said that should see like increased sales from what they're doing in 2021. There's a question about their manufacturing side, so they didn't have any like I don't know like problems with it. It was CMG compliant. What is the manufacturing lead time for Zimhi? Of course, on this call, they're all expecting it to get approved. And the answer was less than 3 months. So less than 3 months. They said they've already done some things to prepare. Now they, of course, had this reset. But it says COVID has not negatively impacted their ability to acquire materials and ingredients. They have enough stock to manufacture for at least a year or more. And then finally, how much would the COVID study cost to run? I said for the Tempol for COVID, it'd be about $4 to $12 million. And then they said they're also for the dermatitis, they're hoping that the University of Pennsylvania will fund the Tempol study. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed all this and that and the other. Like I said, interesting company. I don't know if I want to wait around for this thing. I don't really know how long it takes to turn an NDA resubmission around. Pretty interesting stuff. Pretty interesting stuff. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks so much for stopping by. We'll see you on the next one.